Hello, hello, and welcome to Death Cafe with me, your Latinx bruja and death doula, Pastel Supernova. This is where I do my part to offer heart-led conversations about death, dying, and loss. I'll be sharing personal stories and also speaking with insightful minds about everything to do with the inevitable. In this episode, you will meet Marv. Marv is an incredible woman who shares about dealing with loss compounded upon itself. She is a mother, a daughter, a friend, a human. And in this story, which is a two-parter because there is a lot to unpack, she will be sharing what it's like for a mother to deal with suicide, suicidal ideology, and all of the things that come along with it. If this is too much for you, then please skip ahead. This will be a two-part episode, so we will be back in 3 episodes with a new story. And if you are looking for resources to help face suicide or someone who you care about who is dealing with suicidal thoughts, I have shared links in the show notes.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, of course. I am happy to share.
I want to tell the audience that we met at the Rhodes program at Death Doula Training. And in that class, I mean, everybody shared quite a bit, which was a gift and incredible and mind-blowing. And the more I got to know you, the more I learned about love. So I want to thank you for that because it was the stuff you shared was so powerful. So I'm excited that you're here because I think listeners would benefit from your stories.
I'm happy to share them. I'm an open book. If people ask me questions, I'll give you an honest answer. Sometimes it scares people, but I think it's better to be upfront.
Yeah.
Just be honest. And what you said about me teaching you about what love is, that makes my heart happy. Because my whole goal is to use my stories to be a roadmap for somebody else who might be going through something similar.
Yeah. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. My name is Marv McKinnon. I live in northern BC. For work, I do bylaw enforcement and animal control. I did start off at the BC SPCA working literally scooping poop and just worked my way up from there. I'm currently working on also getting some doula work going, mostly for education purposes and presentations, some one-on-one grief coaching. I really have a heart for those that are hurting, and that's my goal, is to just reach out and be that small beacon of light that somebody might be able to follow.
It's big work. All of it is very big work.
It is, and important.
Yes, it's necessary. And I want to jump into why that's necessary and how you know. So, out of all of your experiences uh, with dealing with grief and loss, which one would you like to begin with?
Well, I can give you a small rundown of I've got it nailed down, my little story, so
Okay.
that it's not so big. So my journey with loss started. My first loss was my grandfather, adopted grandfather, when I was 12, and it's the first time I ever saw a dead body. And I don't remember having any negative reaction about that, other than I was sad that I wasn't going to see him anymore. Jump forward, when I was 29, my dad, who was 62 when I was born, so he was coming close to 92. He just kind of one day was not well, and he went into the hospital and started preparing me from that day for his death, because he knew it was happening. And I think that it's very common for people that are in their last stages to know that that's happening. But he had no concern about himself. He was all about preparing us, the family. But the actual experience of his last breaths were inspiring to me and not scary, because he just had this really peaceful go to sleep, gradually stop breathing, with all of the, physiological things that have to happen with your body. But I was privileged to witness his spirit leave his body, and go off into the clouds, and to have that feeling of relief and lightness that was emanating from that was an amazing experience. 2 years later, my mom died. That was not an amazing experience, and I'm not going to go into all the details of it because it just doesn't matter right now. I can at another time if anybody's interested. Fast forward a little bit again. My daughter completed suicide. She helped me out with the dogs all the time, and she was in cleaning the kennels after I had had a group of puppies that were adopted out. So the pound was actually empty at the time. And she decided to end her life there by using one of the leashes. And I had to go find her. So that was probably the biggest trauma out of all of it. There is no preparation that could ever go into being, being okay or being prepared for something like that, regardless of how much conversation you've had prior to that. I was aware that she was feeling suicidal, and we were watching her, but you just can't be with them 100% of the time. So there's always, that little moment. And then fast forward 4 years from that, my son, who was 21 at the time, he lived on a sailboat, this funky, hippie life, loved it. Had a little bit of a fun time at the pub with his buddy, and they went out in a dinghy to get to his sailboat, and the dinghy flipped, and his buddy made it back to shore, and he did not. That whole experience was completely different. Every grief experience is completely different. Fast forward a little bit again. And my oldest son attempted suicide a couple of times, and I had to go and sit with him. I've learned very well how to speak with him specifically, to mediate his feelings. He does have mental illness and addiction issues. He's currently on his own and doing very well as far as I'm concerned. I'm super proud of him. He has a little slips now and then with the weed mostly, which is legal in Canada, but still an addictive substance. But as of yesterday, he got his first job since his rehab, so he's just happy.
Oh, good.
Those are the major ones. We're just finishing recuperation with my husband after he was diagnosed with cancer over Christmas. Luckily, we caught it in time, and he will be cured according to all of the doctors. It's a cure, not a remission. So,
Thank-
yay.
Ooh.
Ooh. Oh, and I also lost a very dear friend from colon cancer 2 years ago. So there's all of those things kind of mix into every little situation, and there are all kinds of different griefs that go into every um, event that happens.
Yeah. Were you always able, were you open like this about all aspects of your life, or did you start talking about it after?
I've always been a talker, and I've always been kind of maybe a little too open. You know, it's one of those things that just happens. Stuff spills out of my mouth, and then I just wait for the reaction, and then I wait. But after my daughter passed, I talked a lot, and I was sharing everything and all of these things because it just didn't make sense. Nothing makes sense. And I got a lot of, "Aw, I'm sorry," and awkward silence and awkwardness, and people started avoiding me. Um, So when my son died, I clammed up and I just didn't talk to people about it. And from there on, I kind of was, it's pick and choose, right? When people ask or talk, um, then I'll answer, and I answer openly and honestly. I figure if people ask how you are, and then they should just know how you really are.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, if you're curious enough to ask the question, then I'm open enough to tell you the truth.
Did you learn that? Like, did your family teach you that, or were you always like that?
I was always like that. Actually, it embarrassed my mom a lot and my sister
Yeah.
a lot because people would ask me, "Oh, how are you today?" "Oh, I'm having a crap day." My God, it's just a dumb day. And people don't know what to do with it because they just expect your normal, the "I'm okay" or "I'm good" or "everything's great."
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I'm like, that's either brave or you were taught that, and I don't know many people with that experience.
No, I don't know. It just never occurred to me. Like mom, it was always big growing up, no lying.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I put it out a little bit more.
right.
Um, I did come up with a solution for that for the people that you can kind of tell those ones that are like, "How are you?" Like they don't really want to know all the details.
Yeah.
And if I'm having kind of a crap day, but I'm upright and moving, then I am okay. And that is kind of a status quo. I'm moving forward and we're doing things, but okay is okay.
Mhm.
Um, and then I can move up from there. Like if I'm having a fantastic day, which I do have those.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, I was always probably more open than people wanted me to be.
I'd say that's a gift.
I'm using it as a gift now.
Yeah. So many people climb up forever, and well, that just leads to more grief and more loss and physical pain and disease.
Stomach issues,
Hmm.
digestion.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all of it, ulcers, cancer, all the things. So I'm glad that that's not.
During the time that I didn't talk about things after my son's passing, I did develop an ulcer and I do have long lasting digestion issues. There is a connection between the brain and the gut. If your brain is not happy, your gut is not happy either.
Mhm.
So you have to work on both at the same time, which is kind of a challenge because when you're working on one, you kind of focus on it. And yeah, my focus doesn't like to switch back and forth like that.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing is so overwhelming. I find it's like you forget, like when I'm in some state of mind that is not, you know, my regular self, I forget to eat. There's no time. There's things
Yeah.
are numb. Or when only when like my heart is the only thing I can feel. So
Yeah.
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 Do you by chance, before going deeper into your story, do you teach people how to open up? Because I really think that's a skill.
I don't know if I can teach people how to do it like just on their own, but
Hmm.
I have a skill of where people feel comfortable and I know how to ask the right questions to get more full answers, and that does come from my enforcement training, a bunch of it. Um, just knowing what questions to ask to get better statements, to get more feeling out, more information.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how much being an enforcement person and being a um, a coach type person just kind of matches up as like the training matches up all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. You wouldn't think.
One is portrayed as aggressive because of TV, I think.
Yeah, but if you're aggressive in an enforcement, you'll get if you um, portray aggression, you will have aggression in return.
Yeah.
So, and that's counterproductive. Works that way with cats, dogs, everything.
Yeah, yeah. People want to know that you're coming real.
It even works that way with plants.
Could you tell us about your daughter?
Absolutely. Oh, she was 14 at the time of her passing, but she had um, separation anxiety disorder and ADHD. And the medication that she had started to take again was fairly new at the time. And it does cause suicidal thoughts in the first 30 days of taking it. The chances are higher of ideation and those types of things. And they hadn't known that at that time. They know it now. Um, and, you know, insight. But in all actuality, she had the best hugs, had the best smiles, had the best, and she loved to poke people. She liked to touch people. She liked to smile and laugh and giggle. She was definitely bubbly and open and a lot like her mother. um, at the time when this all went down, I actually had um, no idea that there was a possibility of it, of coming home and not having her there, even though I had been talking to her and she had identified that she was having suicidal thoughts. She had a regular counselor. She had a pastoral counselor. She went to private school. It's taken me a lot of time to get to the point where I can say that I did absolutely everything I could to help her maintain her life and move forward. The loss was devastating. we used to live in Pooscoopi. We used to live in Dawson Creek. She knew people in Fort St. John. She had gone to camps in Quesnel. So we had people from all over BC show up for her service. We had it in one of the larger churches in Dawson Creek, and it was the full floor area was full. The balconies were all full, and there was standing room only throughout the back. And it was just amazing for a 14-year-old to have that many connections. And in that room with hundreds of people, I felt so alone. So alone. They're all asking me what happened. How did this happen? How could this happen? I don't know. I didn't know anything. And to this day, there are people that have said to me, we talked at Felicia's funeral. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Everything's just a blur. There are things that I know now that I wish I'd known then, that I've put into list form and handed to other people when they start their journeys. Suicide is on the rise, especially in the north. In my frame of mind, in my mind, if I reach out and I just save one person, then Felicia's death is not in vain. And that's kind of the motto, I guess, I'm going with.
Yeah. Who did you lean on during that time?
So I had a boyfriend, and I had a pastor that I leaned on. As it turned out, they were not the correct people to lean on. But I also had, who is now my husband, was then my friend. He had, his first son had passed away by falling off of a change table and breaking his neck at 6 months old. So I had this man who would just show up and listen to me babble about nonsense. And then just tell me it was normal and healthy, natural and fine. And I would roll my eyes. I still roll my eyes because he still says those things. I would roll my eyes and I would just be so frustrated because I was used to being in charge of my life and my things. And I'm the mother, I'm the matriarch. I have to take care of things. And this grief thing's really getting in my way and I don't like it. And so he just was very, no, you're fine. You're fine. This is exactly what you have to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I have to see counselors. I went to a psychiatrist and said, okay, just put the white jacket on me, lock me up. I'm done. And she said, crazy people don't know that they're crazy. Mm-hmm. And it sticks with me. And I tell people that because I sometimes work with homeless individuals. Unhoused is the appropriate way to say it. And many of them have mental health issues. And if they say, no, I'm just crazy, I'm like, no, crazy people don't know they're crazy. A psychiatrist told me that.
I will be repeating that.
Yeah, it works. Because, and she was like, no, you're fine. You're just grieving. You're fine. I'm like, I don't think I am, but okay, if you say so. It did start the healing journey, but it's not one of those things that I had a roadmap for.
Yeah.
In any way. It was rather alienating, and I lost people and I lost myself. And it took a long time to find who I was now. Because the person I was before she died is certainly not the person I am now.
Mm-hmm.
it changes you. It changes you in all kinds of ways. And you just have to learn to be comfortable with that change. Once you get to that comfort level of acknowledging that this is now who I am and being okay with that and growing the person that you are now and not longing for the person you were then. That's kind of how I've worked through it
Mhm.
with a lot of counselors and therapists and the husband I actually went to a counselor after um, because you can imagine it's kind of a little bit confusing when I have a boyfriend and then I have this guy that is um, being helpful um, and through time there's some flirtatious stuff and we're doing this and we're doing that and um, I was oblivious right over my head.
Right.
So one day no, I was trying to break up with my boyfriend for months because he was not being helpful in so many ways. Um, so he dared me once to go to um, his shop. Just show up here, see what happens. I'm like, okay, you're gonna dare me? I'm gonna go. That's how it is. And he planted a big kiss on me, shocked the hell out of me.
Yes.
And I planned a trip to my sister's for 3 months. Like, went and found another counselor because I'm like, I'm confused. I don't know. And the counselor told me the exact same things Bear was telling me. And I'm like, okay. So maybe it's all these other people and all these other things that are going on in my head that are wrong and not really the direction that I'm going.
Mhm.
And that's when I started to embrace things and started to learn about how my specific grieving pattern worked.
Mhm.
Started to read all the books, do all the courses, anything I could do that was free, I would do to begin with.
Yeah, of course.
Um, and then I just kind of dropped it all off and went, okay, well, I'm done. Nope. So, you know, my daughter's death has led me to be the person that I am now. And I don't know that I would trade that for anything.
Did you have other kids when she passed?
Yes, I have two boys that are older than her.
Were they living at home?
Yes, they were. They were both living at home still.
As a parent who's grieving and still parenting, even if they're older, you're a mom forever.
Yes.
Uh, what was that journey like? It seems more complex than other people's situations. Some other people's.
Yes. It was now my situation was a little bit um sideways, I guess, a little bit awkward to begin with. My middle son had a drug and alcohol problem um long before she died. He started doing drugs and alcohol, and we're not talking just, pot. Um, he would be strung out in so many ways when he came home all the time before she died. And it got so much worse after. For lack of a better word, he was an asshole drunk, just always so angry.
Mhm.
So that complicated things. I had almost given up parenting him already because he just wouldn't, couldn't, um, couldn't receive any of my parenting anything. So all I could do was sit back and love him from afar. So that's basically where I was then. I think he wanted to reconnect a little bit and try to comfort me, but didn't know how to do it. So he avoided me too. And my oldest son was in grade 12 and working on, or no, he had just graduated, sorry. And he was going off to Bible college. And he didn't want to go. And I forced him because I didn't want him putting his life on hold. If I had it to do again with the knowledge that I have now, I wouldn't push it.
Right.
It was a good experience for him, but that's where he had his first psychiatric break, was at that college, 1,000 kilometers from his mom. So that was rather difficult. But he did get the opportunity to go to Thailand afterwards. So, and he would never have had that opportunity otherwise.
Okay.
So it was all part of the training. He was doing missionary work, and it's not necessarily something that we all follow now. I'm a firm believer that if you don't know what you believe or why you believe it, then you're going to just fall for anything.
Right.
So that 1 year of learning has helped him to form proper and knowledgeable opinions, even with his psychosis.
Good.
But yeah, I did, and I was pretty much self-absorbed when it come to that whole time period. I tried really hard to connect with the kids and the boys, and then try to let them know that they were allowed to talk to me. But they, boys and their mums,
Mm-hmm.
we have to protect the mum.
Ah.
And that is especially true of my boys. So they absolutely refused to say anything that they perceived would hurt me. Not necessarily things that would hurt me, but what they might have perceived might cause me pain. I was pretty, just in me.
Yeah.
I
How long?
watched Felicia's videos every day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to forget her voice. I took 3 months off of work. I wasn't ready to go back to work 3 months later. But my employer was really good about rearranging my job so that I didn't have to go back to the same building that she had died in, because it was my job building that she died in.
Right.
The kennels, right? So to this day, that building is still not my kennels. I miss having kennels. I don't have my own for my job anymore, but they were so good about being accommodating and doing all the things. But it's like, when I was doing life after, I refused to smile for 6 months.
Yeah.
Because what kind of a mother could smile after that?
Right.
I don't know. The fog, it's like the world is pea soup.
Yeah.
You're in pea soup, and the world outside is doing its thing, but you're in pea soup.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just wondering how could everything look so normal when it's so not,
Right.
if you know what I mean. Like it's just really so outside. I am so much outside of the world, kind of maneuvering myself within it, but I am not part of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Everything was just so different. And everybody, because I live in a very small town, everybody that looked at me with the,
Yeah.
and I just would go, oh, I get it, I understand, but I don't want to be pitied.
Yeah.
It's not helpful.
No.
It's not helpful. So it made me want to hide away. And I did quite a bit.
Do you
Yes, I
still?
do still live in the same town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I stayed here. I stayed in the same place that we lived when she was alive for a full year. Somewhere along the way, somebody said you shouldn't make major moves or major decisions for a year after a major death. And I took that to heart.
Yeah.
I don't I don't remember who or when or why, but it I absolutely refused for a year. And even after that year, I didn't want to go, but I was kind of pushed. So yeah. And I ended up living out in the boondocks
Hmm.
for a while. And um, that was actually not very healthy. Taking away all the social aspects was probably not a good idea.
Oh. Were you with your kids? Did you move out with your sons or were you alone?
Sheldon was in college, my oldest, and Keenan had accepted a job at the carnival. And he was off running and doing his,
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but when he did that, I was grateful to know that he wasn't taking the hard drugs as much. So
Yeah.
still drinking way too much, still smoking weed way too much, but um, some of the stuff that could instantly kill you, he was no longer doing. So
Right.
that was kind of okay, go do that.
Yeah. So when you were out there, like, were you starting to notice like this is way too solitary for me? Did someone else have to tell you? How did the pea soup continue just sludging you?
If you take your solid or your really thick pea soup and every day you put a drop of water in it, eventually it thins out enough where you can see through it. But it is really just a drop of water, right? So every day there's a little, just smidgen clearer. Living out of town, my boyfriend had really taken. He was attempting mind control, is what he was doing,
Hmm.
and I went to a friend's house, and she's like, "Oh, you look so tired," and I'm like, "Gee, thanks." Um,
Yeah.
And then she goes, "No, seriously." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, because, he's waking me up at 2 o'clock in the morning to have these major discussions. And then I have to work all day." And she goes, "Oh my God, that is a form of mind control and that's abuse. And you need to stop that." And that is what got me out of that. And right after I moved out of that is when I went to my sister's house for 3 months. But I had to, my sister lives on Saturna Island, on my island in the Pacific, I call it. Um, and I had lived there when the kids were really little. I had lived there for almost a year. And there is where Felicia learned how to walk and talk and um, right coming out of the ocean. And it was just a lot of memories. So I revisited all of the places and all of the things on Saturna. Um, I went to the beach where Felicia learned how to walk. Um, I had some epiphanies about life coming out of death, um, looking at the forest and the trees. The dead tree becomes a live tree because it's feeding another tree. It just, this whole cycle of nature really became very apparent to me at that time. And I started sketching some of it, and I went to a counselor, and the finally a counselor that just kind of made me think and didn't give me answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I needed. It's not about giving me homework and telling me to work through all of these things and do timelines. And those things are helpful for certain people at certain times. But I found writing a timeline of all of the things that were tragic in my life, I found it to be revisiting all the traumas and just opening up old wounds that didn't need to be opened up. So he didn't do that. He didn't ask me to do anything other than um, visiting the places and doing the things and walking in the ocean and being in the forest. And those are the things that were most healing for me anyways. So that was perfect. And then he asked me questions like, why? I'm like, I'm grieving wrong. And he went, why? What? What do you mean, why? Like, but I'm that person. I have to be made to think about why it is that I believe what I'm believing. So that's what we did.
Okay.
Um, and in that 3 months, I came to so many more realizations, and I started on a path of rediscovery and healing that I never thought would ever happen. It was just incredible, and has been, continues to be.
Yeah.
And through that path, I get to meet you.
What exciting
Yay!
for me. What do you share with people with regards to these experiences?
So the normal, natural, healthy, all of those things are all a part of everything. I try to keep a lot of what I did, how I did, um, neutral. So that, because my experience is not necessarily going to be your experience.
Yeah.
We could go through the exact same thing, um, but our individuality will create a different experience. In my presentations, I have a list of things that I wish I knew before I started. And at the top of that list is, you are allowed. You are allowed. You're allowed to smile. You're allowed to scream. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to sleep. You're allowed to eat. You're allowed not to eat. Your body will tell you what you need. If you sleep through dinner and you don't feel hungry, don't worry about it. You'll eat tomorrow. Have things on hand that are easy to grab and snack, things that need no preparation and can be grabbed one or two at a time. It's interesting how different deaths create different things. Um, After Felicia died, I couldn't eat. After Keenan died, I couldn't stop eating. So it's, be prepared for either or none of the above. Maybe you just have a normal appetite. You're allowed. And that's really the first and most important thing, is that whatever you're doing, whatever you're feeling, however it's manifesting in your world, you're allowed. It's not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not broken, and you're just allowed.
That's powerful.
That's what I've been told. Yeah.
That's
It's important because I had to give myself permission to smile.
Yeah.
Just something as simple as smiling at a sunset or at a funny dog or a funny cat. Or, I had to give myself permission to smile. Just knowing and acknowledging that is powerful. That was something that I had to like replay in my mind daily. It's okay, I'm allowed. It's okay. I have given myself permission. So I like to give other people permission so that they don't have to wait to give themselves that permission.
And there it is, part one of our interview with Marv. Thank you for listening. Thanks for Marv for this incredible story. We will be back in 2 weeks with more. If you would like to get in touch with Marv and find out what she's doing and how she's holding space for others, please check the show notes. If you would like to get in touch with me about grief coaching, death doula related services, find me online at deathdoulapastel.com. If you have topics of interest for discussion, email them to me at info@pastelsupernova.com. And if you want to find me on Instagram, you can find me there at Death Doula Pastel. Please rate, review, and most importantly, tell a friend. This is an indie pod, and your support and your word of mouth means everything to me. Until next time, blessings and respect.